Variety has this article that I personally think is hand-wringing bullshit. So I'm interested to hear your perspective. It says, why Christopher Nolan's $100 million World War II drama Oppenheimer could be the last of its kind. This is written by Rebecca Rubin, who I don't know. I don't have any personal vendetta against. But she basically goes on to say movie studios are apprehensive about doing films like Oppenheimer that are not based on previously released novels or IP like toys and things like that. Like basically, it's not a comic book movie. It's not a Jenga movie or, Red Hot Cheetos or whatever other movies they're working on, which is actually mentioned in this article. But it's actually a unique story about this historical figure, and that these kind of budgets are not going to be given to these type of movies, and that's like a real shame. To me myself personally, that's bullshit, because these type of movies have never, like, it's getting $100 million because it's Christopher Nolan, not because it's about Oppenheimer, not because it's anything else, not because it's this non-IP and they're like really risking it. It's because it's Christopher Nolan, who does big budget like spectacles. Like, this movie is not, I would bet all the money I have that this movie is not going to be about a guy messing around with beakers in a fucking lab. It's gonna be offset with World War II shit and everything else, and it's gonna be this big grand epic because that's what Christopher Nolan does. Even when he did, what was the film he did in Alaska? I can't remember. Even that has like these big sweeping shots, and it's like, Memento is probably the smallest film he's ever done. Like, he doesn't really do small films. That's why it's getting $100 million. So I think this is nonsense.
Yeah, so there are a couple of ways to approach this, right? Like, I understand I think this person has a point in that movie studios are apprehensive to try new things because movie studios see film not as art, but as a commodity, as something
Absolutely.
to make money off of. And I get it. I get it from a business sense, right?
Of course.
But that's the thing when business and art collide. Like, yeah. Christopher Nolan is in this unique position where he's proven to be good at business, at making money for the studios, which will grant those studios leeway to give him things to do what they want. I think to say that these movies won't exist anymore, this could be the last of its kind, I think that's hyperbolic. To say the least, right? Like, if any one of these comic book movie directors has the potential to make something like this. I don't know. This is a weird way to approach it, because like, these movies aren't going away. Like, these movies aren't going to go away. The problem is the movie-going public isn't really into it. And
have they ever been, though? Have they truly ever been?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing that happens every winter when the Academy Award nominations are announced. Oh, I've never seen this. Because, like, the movie-going public, like, movies are an escape, man. Right. And the majority of people, they just want to be entertained. They want, like, they don't necessarily want a history lesson. I think people should. I think movies are a great way to introduce people into different concepts and stuff like that, because it's, right, at heart, a form of entertainment. Like, you can make a Western starring a bunch of people who truly existed, but have nothing to do with their, real life counterparts. But that would get you to go out and research who those people are, and maybe you learn something, right? Like, right. Perfect example of what movies can be. I just don't. I don't see the idea of, these movies are going to go away. Like, no, they're not. Like, they're not going to be given. They're not going to be given this kind of budget, because, it's a huge risk, man.
Well, and in fairness, that's what she's saying. But to me, it's given the budget not because of like anything other than the power of Christopher Nolan. You think any director could garner $100 million, like some indie director could garner $100 million for this movie? It's not because. It's because of she's making the point that the business side is basically ruining the art side of film. But you wouldn't get this if, like you said, Christopher Nolan wasn't proven on the business side. And ironically, her like scree against comic book movies and everything else is fucking hilarious because it's like, well, Nolan is making this ambitious film. Let me read you the 4 principal fucking actors in Oppenheimer. And you can tell me, what do you see as a commonality? Emily Blunt, Cillian Murphy, Matt Damon, and Robert Downey Jr. Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. are both big actors who have been in what? Comic book movies. Matt Damon does what? Books or movies based on books, based on current IPs and all this other shit. And so does Emily Blunt. Right? They're all big mainstream movie fucking actors. They're not all auteur only fucking actors. They're not. People are going to go see this. Why? Why do you pick Robert Downey Jr. to be in this movie? What's the reason, dude? Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is a good actor. No bullshit. I like Robert Downey Jr. You pick him because he's fucking popular from fucking Iron Man. Because you get people to go see it, dude.
Nobody remembers Chaplin. Nobody
Thank you,
remembers
dude.
Chaplin.
He won a fucking Oscar for that. Come on, dude. Like you're so full of shit. You're so full of shit. And the whole time you're jerking him off like, oh, you're making this auteur movie. He's picking people because they're big fucking names. He didn't pick Tom Hardy to be in his movies for no reason. He didn't pick Leonardo DiCaprio to be in his movies for no reason. He didn't pick John David Washington for no reason. He picked them because they're popular in the mainstream shit that people watch.
Yeah, you know,
dude.
you can really knock a budget down if you don't hire like these AAA actors. You know
Thank you, dude. No offense to the 4 of them. No offense to the 4 of them, but you could 100% find 4 actors who are better than them who do only indie shit.
Yeah, you could make. Christopher Nolan at this point has the power to make stars. He's a star maker.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You put him. You get put in a movie starring Christopher Nolan. You're going to be a success. You're going to be a hit, even if the movie is not exactly like the best thing in the world, right? Like,
right.
You're gonna. He has star. He has king making ability.
Right. Like, what do people think that Tenet was? He saw the potential in John David Washington as he's on his rise. He put his ass in Tenet, and now he's through the fucking roof, right? So it's a fact, right? It's a fact. Like, it's hilarious that people are pretending, like, people are sitting here pretending like Christopher Nolan doesn't realize this. Oh, Christopher Nolan, he's just a struggling artist trying to make it. Christopher Nolan's like, yo, Robert Downey Jr. is mad popular. Put him in my movie. You couldn't find anybody else? You couldn't find anybody. Really? You couldn't? Come on, yo. Knock it off. Who were the 2 stars? Who were the 2 male stars of Tenet? John David Washington in fucking Batman. Weird. Weird, guys. Super weird that he'd pick them. I wonder why. He's not an idiot. He understands there's a business side and there's an art side. And you can respect his view from the art side, and I absolutely do. I think Christopher Nolan's a great director. But you can't just pretend like the business side for him isn't an absolute front of mind aspect of when he makes films. That's not true. Like, you cannot pretend that's not true. It's nonsense. So this article, to me, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, oh, how will he ever make that $100 million budget? Because he's a fucking massive. He makes massive movies. That's why. This isn't Oppenheimer by Michael Bay. What are you talking about?
Right. Producer Peter Newman, head of NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, is quoted as saying, "Nolan is a unique talent with a very loyal fan base. If you were to say someone else doing a period piece about Oppenheimer, I would say it would be difficult to get made." Because Nolan is right, because he's a proven commodity, and he's a proven commodity,
and that's exactly the right word, by the way, a proven commodity. Yes,
right.
exactly
Like,
right.
yeah, like these movie studios don't care about art, guys. Like,
They don't.
I know we do. We do. Like, we care about art in its various like forms because we want to be entertained and
Sure.
because we ain't making no money off of it. But like these
Right.
movie
Not
studios
enough.
don't really. These movie studios don't. They don't. They want return on investment. And the only reason, like that quote said, that this is getting made is because Nolan, one, has a proven fan base that is now an argument can be made that maybe Christopher Nolan is making original movies and that those movies,
except for the Batman trilogy. But go ahead. I mean, like, it's ironic.
The thing that arguably put him on the map. Right?
100%. No, that's what's so fucking crazy. Like, he only does art movies. He did three Batman movies, not one, three. Come on, man. Like, come on.
So yeah, like it's weird, man. Like I get it, right? Like these things, these comic book movies based on existing IP are just like. They're pumping them out, and the fact that all of them aren't, the fact that maybe half of them on a good day, half of them are good, is something that is kind of keeping the business afloat, and
it absolutely is,
and like hardcore movie people can't like they don't like that, but at the same time, like you need it. You need the movie. You need the summer movies to make the winter movies, guys.
Yeah,
that like
it's
like
weird.
It's weird.
So one last quote I'd like to read, and then I'd like to point out something that's hilarious. Quote: she says, "These days, it's rare for traditional studios to pump 9 figures into a film that isn't inspired by popular toys, novels, or comic books." Now, I assume that she means popular toys, popular novels, or popular comic books, right? Or you could just read it as popular toys, novels, or comic books. It's weird because Oppenheimer is based on a book called American Prometheus, The Triumph and Tragedy of J. Robert Oppenheimer. It's also based on a book. Like, it's not just an original story. It's also based on a book. Did you do any research before you wrote this article? Like, did you look at who is in Oppenheimer? Did you look at who Christopher Nolan, how he got famous, not just in your art circles, but to everyone, why he's a household name? And like you said, it's because of Batman. It's not because of Memento, which I saw when it came out, and I was like, this guy's amazing. Like, I thought it was great then. And then it was like, he's doing Batman. I'm like, he's doing Batman? For real? Okay, I got to see this shit. Like, but 99% of people were like, oh shit, this Batman movie is awesome. Who directed this? Oh, Christopher Nolan. Wow. And then he became a household name. I'm just saying, like, I get it. We want to have this conversation about like the art versus the business, and the art is dying because, comic book movies and all this other shit. But you're putting these people in this movie because you're using, like you said, you're using the summer months to then justify the creation of the winter month movies, and then somehow back channeling and shitting on the summer month movies. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. They all have a place.
It's just weird. It's a weird, right? They all have a place. It's a weird argument to make, especially because we know this. This is, that's why they call them blockbusters, man. Like, right. This is why people, and
it's not new. It's not new. Westerns were the comic book movies of their day. Oh, Robert Downey Jr. is in Iron Man. Oh, how many more of these movies are they going to make? Let me ask you a question. How many movies did John Wayne star in that were Westerns? You want to count? You want to take a count? What about Clint Eastwood? How about like where he's just grimacing as a cop? How many of those? Hey, guess what? Gangster movies were the fucking movies of their time. They were the comic movies of their time. How many Martin Scorsese gangster movies is it going to make? No one complains about that because you enjoy them. Because that's what you liked when you were 20 or 30 years old. So it was okay. Like, come on, man. The fuck over yourself. It's nonsense.
Look, part of it is, no, I won't even say lack of imagination, because these things are, because quite frankly, making a movie about flaming hot Cheetos requires a lot of fucking imagination.
It does. Look, respect to them. Like, if you can pull this shit off, that's amazing.
But
look, the founder worked. The founder worked.
Right. Right. So I lost my train of thought. Because that's what happens when you get old. But God damn it. I'm fucking old. But
no, it's fine. Look, flaming hot Cheetos, very good. Very good. That's what Micah was going to say. Very good.
No. No.